Oh, I should have just made it for 3 o'clock and I wouldn't have been late. Ah, frustration. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Welcome to a Disney stream. And what's so funny is that even this story is a Disney story because it's for 20th century, which, of course, is now part of the Disney empire. So that makes Arnold a Disney princess. Okay, everybody, it's the first stream of the week, and you know what that means. Time to gift some memberships because you guys are so generous yourselves. I want to try to do that as well. Hey, Corey, welcome back. And I see X-Men Superfan. You're always so incredibly generous. Thank you so much. So time for me to donate some. Hold on. Here we go. Do, 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 do. I don't pick who they go to, but YouTube gives them to whoever interacts with this channel the most, be it subscribing, watching videos, leaving comments. If you've been a member previously, that's how YouTube decides. I'm glad you're excited for the stream, Wanda's Attorney, although, of course, this is right in your wheelhouse. Okay, so, hey, Poke, it's so nice to see everybody. Hello to you too, Von Steuben. Okay, your enthusiasm is making me very happy. You know, I got into a fight with well, I wouldn't say a fight, but a spirited disagreement with a number of Project Hail Mary book fans this morning, and that kind of put me in a bit of a funk. I was like, I didn't read the book. You guys don't have to be jerks about it, but then it wouldn't be the internet, would it? Hey, Christian. Okay, all right. Welcome back. All right, let's get started. All right, that's right. It's a magical bunch of Disney boops today. Bibbidi bobbidi boop. One of you came up with that before, but it's hilarious. Okay, so bibbidi bobbidi boop. Aha! Oh no, I covered up Mother Gothel's face. Good, she's a villain. I gotta say, I really I find Kathryn Hahn's picture here endearing because I can relate to it. I sometimes look like that myself. Ooh, I was like, oh my God, stop trying to look like me, man. It's hilarious. I find it extremely relatable. Okay, I like Kathryn Hahn a lot. All right, so I got some chapter times here, and there's my arrow. We got lots to talk about. All right, where we go. All right, so Agatha Harkness. She is going to continue in the Disney Corporation, but apparently not as we had expected. I will say that this is excellent casting. There, of course, is a still from her iconic song, Mother Knows Best, which Kathryn Hahn, you know, at this point, this is a role that Kathryn Hahn could do in her sleep, which I think is something a couple of us are a little worried about. We'll talk about that in a moment, but she is extremely well cast, you know, certainly from a creative perspective. I don't know if she's well cast from a business perspective, and we're going to discuss that. But she's very, very, you know, I think she would be able to do a very nice job with this. At the very, like, you know, it's not going to be bad, which, you know, these days when it comes to Disney live action adaptations, whew, that's something that we luckily won't have to worry about here. I would say the nicest thing for me about this casting was seeing Kathryn Hahn trend number 7. How great is that? You know, it's a little bit like Allison Janney and J.K. Simmons. You know, there are these working actors who have been around for such a long time. I forget, I was watching an older movie the other day. I think it was, oh yeah, I believe that it was The Holiday. And I think Kathryn Hahn was in that. And so Kathryn Hahn has been working for so long in Hollywood with very little recognition, doing lots of rom-coms, being the best friend. And I think it's really great that she, you know, was able to keep her, you know, sustain a career, and that she finally got her flowers. And so, especially with female comedians, you know, I don't think that women get a lot of credit. And, there's, people like to say, there's a really misogynistic joke that's been around for a long time. I think it's kind of mostly gone away, but people used to say women can't be funny. And it was really frustrating. Hey, Jennifer, welcome back. Look at your badge. It's beautiful. And so the fact that Kathryn Hahn is not only very funny, but she's not like a hot, I mean, she's very attractive, but she's not like, she doesn't sell herself. Oh, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. That was the one I think I saw her in. But, that's not her image. She's not hot, and she's an older actress. And so the fact that she could be trending number 7, I think is really exciting in an industry that is often not kind to women as they get older. So, I think she's very pretty, Madav, but I'm talking about like, she's not like, say, a Margot Robbie, right? Or something like that, I just think it's really great to see her doing so well. I'm really happy for her. I just think it was really nice to see. All right, so I do have some concern, though, about the Disney Plus effect. I would agree that Agatha All Along definitely catapulted her to a new stratosphere and certainly gave her a very strong fan base, particularly with women in the LGBT community. I don't know what's going on with Elizabeth Olsen. It seems very unfortunate and bizarre considering where she was when she decided for some reason to stop playing Scarlet Witch. I don't know what's going on there. But I think that Kathryn Hahn has taken over that fandom very effectively. But I do worry that as excited as we all are, is this going to seem like a movie, right? That should be seen in theaters. It's making me a little nervous that, this same fandom, by the way, loved Thunderbolts, but Thunderbolts was a box office flop, like really a flop, like not even like, oh, it did okay, like holy crap. Did very poorly at the box office. And that's a shame. But, the Agatha fans might be able to get Kathryn Hahn trending on social media, but they're not going to be able to get her to where she needs to be at the box office, which is a little bit scary. And then also, is she basically going to be playing the same character? I'm glad one of you said it, because, I don't want to be a negativo Stevo. My friend made that up as the alternative to a positive Pete. A negativo Stevo. But I do have some concern about that, like, is she just going to be playing Agatha? I don't know. The problem is that the characters are already very similar. So to be faithful to both of them, they are going to have a tremendous overlap. People think she should be Mother Gothel because Mother Gothel is so close to Agatha. So that's a little bit, you're like, well, how is she, and, I have to say Kathryn Hahn's very talented, and that is something she's going to have to deal with. That's something that Kathryn Hahn is, that's a challenge to her. How can she make this different? So that's very interesting. Then I do think, let's see here. What is Kathryn Hahn? What is it? Brett, that's a great comparison of Kathryn Hahn to Catherine O'Hara. You think Hahn could bring her kindness and genius to Gothel. That's a really great comment, and you make me feel better about it, Brett. I hope that's what her agent and manager said. Nuance. It was a very shallow role about vanity in the animated series. But, one of the things that was so beautiful about Kathryn Hahn's performance in Agatha All Along was, the nuance and depth to it. Her guilt over what happened with Wanda, tormented by what happened to her son. It was really fantastic. And so, yes, if she could flesh out Mother Gothel in that regard, could be very exciting. That could be great. Now, she's also becoming a professional villain. Of course, she played the Wicked Witch of the West when they had the Agatha All Along series, which she also, by the way, fit her like a glove. And so, again, you want to avoid a sameness to all these performances. So that's something that I hope that not only Kathryn Hahn, but the screenwriter and the director who we're going to discuss, I hope that they pay attention to that. And, a lot of you are pointing out that perhaps Mother Gothel's performance is very child-centric, or the lack of a child. But that also makes me a slight bit nervous because that, of course, was Agatha's story. So it's very, very similar, extremely similar. I think in some ways you would almost feel like it would disqualify her from this role. But then at the same time, I think Disney's really desperate, which we'll discuss in a moment. But I do want to say first, I also am concerned about what this means for the future of Agatha. Again, we all loved Agatha all along. We're excited about this movie potentially because of our love for Kathryn Hahn in that performance. But I loved what they did with Wiccan. I loved the ending of Agatha all along, and that it set up, something a very exciting next chapter. But this is going to take a lot of Kathryn Hahn's time. She was only just cast. So they have to film it. Then she's going to have to be promoting it. And so it seems like it might be quite a long time before she's available to do Agatha again. And perhaps that's one of the reasons they gave her this, because they know that it's going to be a very long time before Agatha comes back. So they want to keep the fandom engaged. That makes me, we'll see. The Vision show comes out this year. Tommy, it's been confirmed, is going to be finally returning as well. And you would think that would mean that Billy and Agatha are not far behind. But let's see what they decide to do. But it does make me slightly worried about the future of Agatha Harkness. Okay, now what's also very interesting to me is I think we're seeing the pendulum effect with live action adaptations. I think that there has been no live action adaptation that changed more about the source material than Snow White. And there has been no Disney live action adaptation that was more of a flop. And so I think you're really seeing the pendulum effect. If you don't know what the pendulum effect is, it's where you go from one extreme to another, and then eventually you settle back in the middle. And so I think that Tangled, you're seeing a very strong reaction to that, where you have something that is extremely loyal to the source material, to the point where you're like, is this just, is it cut and paste? Although they're doing that with the upcoming Moana, and I think we're all very curious to see how that might turn out. That's going to be a test even before this. But, I do think this is very good casting. I think that if you want to create a live action exact copy of Tangled, Disney has done it. But at the same time, you risk it maybe being a little bland, right? So that's where it becomes a little bit scary. However, I think that there are two things that we can feel a little better about that we don't know about yet. I will say this cast looks quite good. I hope that Tegan Croft, who was Raven, and she did a good job as Raven. The fact she could play Raven makes me feel maybe she could do a little bit of nuance here. I don't like the fact that Disney live action princesses tend to be a little bland. I would hope that Tegan Croft can go toe to toe with Kathryn Hahn in their scenes. That would be really important to me. But I think that it's something else that we have to wonder about is what's going to go on with the script. Is it just going to be an exact copy of the animated movie, or like the best adaptations, are they going to flesh out the story, add more depth and, dimension? I thought Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast were fantastic examples of that. And I would also add The Little Mermaid. I thought that you're right, Faye, Halle Bailey was phenomenal. She had a lot of spunk. She looked exactly like a Disney animated princess come to life in looks and personality. I think you're right. I think Halle Bailey was the best in terms of, having a lot of persona as a Disney princess instead of being, kind of like an empty shell for the audience to project themselves into. I don't want no empty shells. I want a great character. Naomi Scott was beautiful, but I don't think she had a ton to do. She was nice, but I think she didn't pop the way that Halle Bailey did. Halle Bailey was really great. I feel bad that, I would have liked to have seen where they were going to go with that. I like that they were adventurers. Anyway. All right. So what's going to happen with the script? Are they going to flesh out Mother Gothel's role? Are they going to flesh out these other characters? Because it's so similar in terms of casting, I would hope that they kind of make it a little bit more. I hope there are some surprises in the changes that they make with the script. But, and I've seen a couple of you mention this, the secret weapon here by far is, where'd it go? Director Michael Gracie. Director Michael Gracie is this movie's secret weapon. He is an incredibly inventive director. He just did a phenomenal job. First with The Greatest Showman, and then with Better Man, the Robbie Williams biography, where Robbie Williams was a monkey. The animated, I mean, the musical numbers on that were incredible. If you see the one where they do downtown London, it's one of the best sequences I've ever seen. So if he can bring that kind of inventiveness, Scarlett Johansson originally wanted to play Mother Gothel, and word was that it was simply because she wanted to work with Michael Gracie. So if he can like really, level up Tangled and pull it out of its like neat little box and do something really imaginative with it visually, I think that we could be in for quite a treat. I think that, again, he is the best. He is what's going to really make this movie special, in my opinion. All right. So does anybody have any questions or comments about this story before we move on to the next story? Jacob, there are a lot of beautiful visuals here. I'm also very curious as to how the hair is going to look, in animation. Corey, you think it could do $1 billion? I'd have to see how it looks. I think if it's just cut and paste, I'm not sure about $1 billion. Poll if you like this, Lila. Okay, I'll do it, but I know what the poll results are going to be. You love it. Do you think live action Tangled looks good? It looks amazing. Promising. I'm not sure. And then, of course, finally, I don't want this. And by the way, anyone who's watching can vote in a poll. You don't have to be a member to vote in a poll. Anyone can vote. I agree, Just Blaze Disney. I feel bad about The Princess and the Frog. I would have liked to have seen that animated series. I'm very disappointed that they shelved it. I think that would have been wonderful. But you shall never see a live action Pocahontas because she was a real a real person. And her story was quite sad and very adult. So, I think there's some question as to whether or not Disney ever should have adapted that story, whether or not it was appropriate. Oyster Bay says it's not making a Billy. Beauty and the Beast did because it was first and very joyful, and Aladdin did because of Will Smith. Well, also, those were Disney Renaissance movies. That's a very big difference. They had incredible scores. Tangled has good songs, but it doesn't have songs as good as those other animated films. I mean, Mother Knows Best is a good song, but, and there are a couple other ones that people know. But, when people are doing like Disney Greatest Hits, nobody's like throwing Tangled songs in there for the most part, except for probably Mother Knows Best. So I think that's a slight issue that this will have. You guys are saying 750. Look, both Mysterian and Bunny Librarian both said 750. That would be wonderful. Anything that kind of and also if it plays really well on Disney Plus, that's really valuable right there. And, they can get more merch out of this. They can put them in the theme parks. Disney has a lot of ways to utilize IP. And so they just want to keep it in rotation. They want to keep it current. And I think that's very valuable, I mean, like for instance, we haven't talked about it yet, but they're working on another Monsters Inc. And that's not only because movies are, the sequels are making so much money, but because of course they need to keep the current Monsters Inc. rides that they're building. They need to make them feel like they're of the moment. Hashtag Pie says, Grace, if this needs to stand out, we need Cassandra from the TV show and a lot else from it. Otherwise, it'll just be shot for shot. I think it might be difficult to introduce Cassandra in the first story, but I think they could tease her for a sequel with like an end credit sequence or something like that. And I think that would be very impressive. I think because of the TV series, that's a good point. The animated series, I think they have a good shot at a second movie there. And Fernicus, that's a great name, says, I hope Maleficent 3, if it's made, is more like the first movie in its darkness. I don't think they'll ever make Maleficent 3, to be honest with you. Certainly not while Angelina Jolie's around. And I don't know if Angelina Jolie could be replaced. She was really good in that. It was kind of perfect for her. Steven says, at least Kathryn Hahn is following Gal Gadot as the next villain. That's right, Steven. She will definitely be better than that. And Jiko, who's just in Tokyo, I'm so jealous, got to go on the Rapunzel ride and said it was really phenomenal. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I hear the technology that they're utilizing overseas in the parks is incredible. Let's see here. Owe says it's going to make a Billy. I feel like some of you guys are unaware of the impact Tangled and Frozen. Well, Tangled certainly was a hit, but it was not a Frozen, and I would not put them in the same category. Frozen and Moana are together, but it's not like Tangled has been a huge hit on Disney Plus. They didn't cast the horse yet, Lila. Boom, boom, ching. I love it. That's great. That's very funny. I hope that the horses, a lot of times the animals don't translate so well to live action. Zay says, wedding cake, please. Serve us up. That's right, Zay. That's crucial. This needs to be the biggest slice of wedding cake we've ever seen. The hair, the flowers. Remember, Rapunzel is an artist. It needs to be really stunning visually. And by the way, if you've watched any of Michael Gracey's films, well, those two that I mentioned, it'll be visually stunning. Oh, a lot of you don't know who Cassandra is. Cassandra is this really fun, like kind of opposite, like really cool, action-oriented best friend or some ship them actually, of Rapunzel on the animated show. And she has really great character design. She's a little Wednesday Addams-like. And then iReady says, Howard Ashman and Alan Menken were amazing during the Renaissance. They really were. R.I.P. Howard Ashman. Irreplaceable. Absolutely irreplaceable. It's very, very sad. And I agree with Quick Draw. For sure, Mandy Moore will be playing the Queen. 1,000,000,000,000%. And I also guarantee you that Zachary Levi will be nowhere near this thing. I don't know what to do. Part of me feels like if we put him in it, then I'll shut him up maybe, because I don't want to deal with it. But I feel if he's in it, he'll insist to be front and center on the publicity tour, and I don't want him on the publicity tour. But do I really want to fight with conservatives over this movie? If I were Disney, I'm like, maybe you know what I'd do, and I'm sorry to say it. I'd put him in the Snuggly Duckling number as just as a cameo, as one of the singers. I think he could easily do that. And I just don't want to deal with this BS, to be honest with you. And I don't want to have a fight about it, So that's what I'd probably offer him. Way in the back, Neil. This is your scene, Zach. You're here standing behind this pillar. But yeah, all right. What's my favorite Disney song, Muma? Oh, that's pretty easy. Well, Once Upon a Dream from Sleeping Beauty is my favorite. That's actually still my favorite Disney animated movie. I think it's just stunning. It just feels like a fantasy storybook come to life. It's still my favorite. It's hard for me to watch some of the really early ones, though, like Cinderella. I'm like, she's insane, and like even with Peter Pan, once they get to Neverland, I sometimes start to lose interest. But that still, Sleeping Beauty holds up extraordinarily well, in my opinion. Also, side note, I have to say, I think it was a mistake to put all the Disney animated movies forever available on Disney Plus, because it makes you unable to really appreciate them if they're just available all the time. Like the other day I watched the opening of Oliver and Company and I was like, okay, I watched the first 5 minutes, I'm good, because I just didn't have time to watch the rest of it. But is that really the way you should be able to watch it? That's right, bring back the Disney Vault, Corey. I think that you can do that on Disney Plus. Like things leave streaming services all the time, and I think that's what Disney should do with Disney Plus. I would definitely bring back the Vault. Because it just makes these things feel less special, in my opinion. I don't think they should be available to watch at any time. Okay. Jiko says, do you think she should have more than one dress? Oh, for sure. She's got to have more than one dress. She's got to have a ton of great looks for her hair. I want to be able to make a video ranking her outfits. Thank you very much. And then Nicholas says, but is this for kids, not adults? Oh, you sweet summer child, as they like to say. This is for adults. I'm sure. Kids can come too. But this is for adults, which I think is hilarious. Okay, let me close the poll. Is this not for children? No. I don't like it when I see those things where people are like, Disney theme parks are for kids. They're like, no, they're not. Who told you that? Okay. So do you think live action Tangled looks good? 48% of you think it looks promising. 21% say it looks amazing. 19% are hesitant, and 12 of you don't want this at all. That's interesting. I mean, obviously, the overwhelming majority is positive, but that's a bigger chunk of negative than I would have expected. Let's see here. Would I cameo if I was asked? Sure, I don't think that's going to happen, but, I'm not going to say no to myself. That's funny. And then Linzik says you need kids and adults to push for 1 billion. Oh, for sure. No, kids need to come, but I mean, kids aren't going to drive social media chatter. I mean, kids didn't get Kathryn Hahn cast in this role. So let's see what happens. Okay. Oh, all right. Hashtag I missed your super chat. Let me go back and find it. You think Cassandra could take Max's role because, they can't do a horse in live action? No, they got to do Max. Max is important. Max is for the kids. And Steven wants to point out that Lion King was a shot for shot and made a ton of money. It did, but Lion King is a bigger movie. Lion King is just a bigger movie. Did I miss your super chat as well, Riley? Let me go back and see if I can find it. I think I answered you. Boy, it's really back here. Sorry. I don't see it anymore. I'm sorry. And that's right, Oase. Their next hurdle is the hair. And how are they going to make it that the hair is not full of branches and dirt when she's running around the woods? Or even just dust in her little apartment there, aka prison. What are you talking about? This is a pied-à-terre, Rapunzel. And that's right, Antonio. How to Train Your Dragon was a shot for shot. I don't know. I wished it wasn't, to be honest with you. I think that the flying sequences and the 3D of it, I actually ended up seeing it in 3D and it was great. I think that kind of helped, but that's not going to be the case here. And that's right, hashtag, it did make 1 billion. So that's true. And Lilo and Stitch was too many changes. Oh, that was a disaster, but it still made 1 billion because Stitch looked that good. Okay, let's go to the next story of the day. All right. I think they have a really big hit on this. Alberto says, if this is a success, what's next? Frozen. They won't do Frozen for a while because they have 2 more Frozens that they're making that are animated. So I think that you're going to get something else. I'm not sure. Maybe Hercules. People really want Hercules. I don't know why Hercules isn't being fast-tracked. Take it away from the Russo brothers. Yoink. They shouldn't have it anyway. And Hercules just couldn't be a bigger hit. I mean, it should be being worked on right now. There's also Atlantis, Princess and the Frog. I really hope that they would do Princess and the Frog. It would be sad to me if they didn't do Princess and the Frog. That has incredible music. I feel bad. They didn't, I feel bad about the attraction because I was really excited about Princess and the Frog taking over Splash Mountain, to be honest with you. But then they did this weird thing where it was all focusing on Tiana having a restaurant. And I don't think that really worked out very well. And I don't think that the ride is Tiana-centric enough, to be honest with you. They did Tiana dirty, man. Their intentions were Disney. They always have the best of intentions, but for some reason, do more harm than good. Okay. I feel pretty strongly about that. They're like, we're going to do something great for the community. And you're like, is it going to be great? Or are you just going to cause more problems? Okay. Story number 2. Oh, is the Tiana ride in Disneyland better? Next time I'm in Disneyland, I'll check it out. I'll try it. Okay. I will tell you, I never used to ride Splash Mountain, but now I ride it again because, and I have, my family never rode Splash Mountain. We just were like, oh, we don't like it that much, and we would get really wet. But ever since Tiana took it over, we have gone back. It has now gone back into our ride rotation. Thank you very much. I think we only ride it once per trip, but we used to not ride it at all. And now we ride it every trip. Okay. Story number 2. Bibbidi bobbidi boop. It's fun to say it that way. Okay, all right. So I got a lot to say about this, surprisingly. I didn't think I did, but I do. I wonder if, speaking of where are we going to get more Agatha All Along, I wonder if Agatha All Along is the inspiration for doing Tinkerbell. Because while, of course, it doesn't play, there's not a similarity when it comes to the 1953 movie, Tinkerbell and her friends kind of feel like Agatha and her friends. Well, they kind of became her friends in the end. But I feel this is very similar. And I think maybe they're like, hey, Agatha did so well, let's try it with Tinkerbell. I mean, that, of course, would depend on the age range for Tinkerbell, which we're going to discuss. But I think there's a similarity here. But then that begs the question, which Tinkerbell are we adapting here? There's two very different versions of the character. So, of course, there's the classic 1953, who is rumored. The rumor was she was modeled on Marilyn Monroe, which actually was been proven not to be the case. But, very curvy, very blonde bombshell, but also very comedic. Very comedic, a little Lucille Ball, had a really fiery temper. They really played into the jealous female stereotype, which, again, you're like, isn't Peter really causing these problems for Tinkerbell? I mean, I don't think you and Wendy should be fighting. But, they really fought it. Tinkerbell tried to kill Wendy, I mean, it was J.M. Barrie's idea, but still, it's like, whoa, maybe Peter just doesn't like you. Okay. But extremely popular character to this day. And a lot of times when you see Tinkerbell, Disney sells a lot of merch based off of original Tinkerbell. That's right. She does have hands. Who said that? Mystic. That's hilarious. So anyway, when you see a lot of merchandise, ornaments, statues and stuff, a lot of times it's recreating very famous, iconic moments for the character from the 1953 film. However, the character then had a second life as Disney fairies, and it must be popular because they continually reference Disney fairies in the theme parks now. So I tried to watch Disney fairies, as an older fan, and I was like, this is for kids. Even though it feels Agatha All Along coded in the setup, this was for kids. This was not, a lot of times, I think a lot of great animation is something that can be enjoyed by all age ranges. Disney Fairies was for kids. But a lot of people, as some of you are saying, grew up with it. And it has a very large fandom. So the question is, who is it most important that this series appeals to? Who is really going to be the fandom? I think maybe you have to try and find a way to get both maybe to be interested in this show. I hope you know what I would do if I were producing this? I would put a picture of She-Hulk up in my office and I would say, avoid this at all costs. Now, I appreciated She-Hulk, but there's no denying that that did not work, and it did not have broad appeal. So I'd be like, whoa, we got to make sure that we don't go in that direction. I don't know about Millie Alcock. I don't think Millie Alcock is curvy enough. Tinkerbell's supposed to be a little cheesecake. I wouldn't make her too cheesecake because she's supposed to be a character for all ages. But I think that Millie Alcock, I think that's hurting Supergirl a little bit, actually, to be honest with you. Oh, that's right. Freya Sky. That's right, Mystorian. She's right there, and she got turned down for Tangled. Maybe this could be her consolation prize. Although I do agree with Wanda's attorney that if money were no option, Florence Pugh would be the ideal. Or Sabrina Carpenter. But Sabrina Carpenter, unfortunately, went to Universal to do Alice in Wonderland. But Sabrina Carpenter would be an incredible Tinkerbell. And so would, Florence Pugh. That's the kind of person you're looking for. Curvy, blonde, playful, very likable by women, as well as men. And, I think that's what you're looking for. And, good comedic skills. It better not be McKenna Grace. She'd be an awful Tinkerbell. Don't put that out into the universe, Stephen. Okay, so the legacy of the character. This character who's so popular starting in 1953 that she has just been a huge part of the Disney magic and very much has come to personify the Disney magic to some degree. For instance, back when The Wonderful World of Disney used to air on television, The Wonderful World of Color, who would bring the show to life at the beginning of each hour? Why, it would be Tinkerbell. Ariana Grande, this is a Disney Plus show. You guys are getting people who are, if this was a movie, Ariana Grande, well, I don't know if she'd want it because I think it's a little bit too similar to Glinda. But, I think that if I was trying to entice someone else to play Tinkerbell, I would probably say this could be your Glinda, but you'd have to make it your own. All right, so after that, she also, of course, brings the fireworks to life every night in every Disney theme park, where they strap some poor performer to a giant wire, and they make her go on the zip line over the crowd, and she's all lit up, and it's pretty neat. It's pretty cool, I have to tell you. I worry about the safety of it, but this is an important character. Basically, you can't make people start to hate Tinkerbell because it would be a huge problem for the Disney company. So there's a lot of responsibility here. Then also she does meet and greets, this is a little bit over the top, I feel, for a meet and greet, but whatever, man. Okay. Meet and greets at the parks. And as you can see, they're really leaning into the Disney fairy setup instead of the 1953. Kaylee Cuoco would be hilarious, Nicholas. I might see if Kaylee Cuoco would do it. Although I don't know if little kids would enjoy Kaylee Cuoco. I think we'd get a kick out of it. But I don't know if adults, I don't know if little kids would think that was as much fun. And then, of course, she's in the parades. Everybody loves to see Tinkerbell. And I love a parade. Of course, a very great Disney song. So there she is during the day. There she is, again, very much playing into the Disney fairies scenario. But then this one I thought was great. When I was looking for images, I came across this one from the nighttime parades. That's pretty freaking phenomenal. That looks incredible. And it made me wonder, what are the visuals for this show going to be? Is this just going to be like a sitcom? Or are they going to spend some money on it? Is Tinkerbell going to glow? Is Tinkerbell going to have actual powers and we get to see her do stuff? I mean, this could be pretty neat. That, to me, is pretty hypnotic. That looks absolutely incredible. Is that Japan? I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know why their parks are so superior. It's a little frustrating at this point. That's why I also want to go to there. But that's just absolutely stunning. That's right. It's very colorful. Lanterns went in the opposite direction and we were all upset about it. So I hope that they have I hope that they make this really cool. All right. So this isn't the first time that Tinkerbell, though, will appear in live action. So Julia Roberts iconically played the role back in the day for Steven Spielberg, no less, for the movie Hook. Hook, I like Hook. Though actually, the more the time passes, the more I can forgive its flaws and just enjoy it for what it is. One of Robin Williams' most famous performances. Weird take on Tink, though. They really leaned into her having a crush on Peter. But it was good. So she played Tink. It was a very popular role, but I will say it's not like Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman did. Nobody was like, wow, can I play Tink next? People were just like, it didn't totally work out. But yeah, so Julia Roberts was the first, really truly live action mainstream Tink. Then Yara Shahidi from Blackish got the role in the Disney Plus movie, or the movie that went to Disney Plus. The role was seriously underwritten. They really didn't give her very much to do, but she looks great. The VFX are great on it. She looks like Tinkerbell. She looks very much like Tinkerbell from the costume to the wings to the hair. But she didn't have anything to do. She was barely in the movie. Now, Disney has been wanting to do another Tinkerbell. Oh yeah, that movie Pan. I even forgot who even played Tinkerbell in that. And there was also a Tinkerbell movie with Jason Isaacs as Hook a couple of years back. And I think Tinkerbell might have just been a ball of light in that movie. All right, so anyway. So Disney has been trying to do a live action Tink for a while. First, they were going to do Elizabeth Banks. Then they were going to do Reese Witherspoon. Those are actresses who are a lot older. So I think the question is, what age range are they going for here? Are they going for a Julia Roberts or a Yara Shahidi? Who is the intended target audience for this show? That is a big, huge question. Who are they hoping is going to watch Tink or Tinkerbell on Disney Plus? I think so far we don't have a really strong answer to that. So it's hard to get a read on what they're planning to do. Speaking of Reese Witherspoon, though, they are about to do a Legally Blonde show. And so I feel like, that could probably eat into this a little bit. So who is behind this? Well, they hired these two women, Liz Heldens and Bridget Carpenter. Never heard of these ladies. And you have to wonder, are they the new Jack Schaefer? They certainly all kind of look like they hang out together, right? Now, as for these ladies, they have a very diverse resume, both of them. They worked both together on Friday Night Lights, and you're like, what? That's pretty cool. One of them worked on Only Murders in the Building. I believe one of them also worked on Will Trent, the current network show. These women have worked in television for a very long time. But I don't think they seem to have really found their voice, so to speak. So maybe they are the new Jack Schaefer. Who's to tell? But I am very curious to see what happens here. Is it fantasy? Is it like a Marvel Star Wars show? Or is it an Enchanted/Disenchanted? I think that is the issue. And again, I appreciate some of your enthusiasm for who should play Tinkerbell. But remember, this is a Disney Plus series, not a movie in theaters. So that's going to bring down the level of actor that they can get. They certainly couldn't get a Ariana Grande or a Margot Robbie. You need to think somewhere more in the middle. Who's the actress? Why don't we get a Margot Robbie lookalike? I think Samara Weaving would be phenomenal. I would love to get Samara Weaving. I should call her right now. If I worked at Disney, I'd be like, there we go. Or am I saying the name incorrectly? Oh, Ella Purnell. Ella Purnell's a good choice, hashtag. I don't know if she's available necessarily. And Amy Lou Wood is a good choice. Oh, hashtag pie, you should be working for Disney in the casting department. Those are the best choices I've seen so far. I like Ella Purnell and Amy Lou Wood. I think they would appeal to kids. And I think that they also are quirky enough that I think adults would be interested. Kathryn Newton, I feel, Chico, you're very nice to suggest me for all these things. Let's see here. I don't know about Dove Cameron, but Faye also likes Amy Lou Wood. Amy Lou Wood's a great choice. I gotta say, I think we might have solved that problem. I think Elle Fanning, let me tell you something. I got the screeners for Margot's Got Money Troubles. That is, she plays an OnlyFans model. She's really playing an OnlyFans model on that show. I don't know if that's going to hurt or help her career. You'd be shocked. I was like, the screen grabs from this show, they're going to be floating around the internet, are pretty nuts. I was surprised that Elle Fanning decided to go that far. Again, I'm not sure how it's going to work out for her, but it was surprising. Oh, Stephen, congrats to your sister, and I'm so glad you're an uncle. I think you're going to be a wonderful uncle. Let's see here. Sabrina Carpenter, no, John. Sabrina Carpenter just went to Universal to do Alice in Wonderland, so she's busy. Okay, I like Ella Purnell and Amy Lou Wood quite a bit. I think those are great choices. Okay, let's get on to the third story of the day. Let's get to the chopper and talk about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Ha 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 ha, writes itself. All right. Okay, Arnold Schwarzenegger. All right. Boom, baby. Okay, as he so famously said, I'll be back. I'll be back. And he is back, or at least he's hoping to be. All right, so we've talked about Arnold before. Arnold did something pretty bad. It was really bad. He blew up his whole family. It was not great, you know. It was a pretty big scandal. It totally derailed his career. I do think that, I think some of the things that have helped him are that it was a one-time thing. I don't think, it's not like some other people who have been proven to be repeat offenders, a pattern of disturbing behavior. I mean, Arnold was definitely a womanizer back in his heyday, but I think that, this was one huge, massive misjudgment that went on for several years. For those of you who aren't aware, Arnold Schwarzenegger had an affair with his housekeeper while she lived in the house or worked in the house with his family. And it went on for quite some time. And this woman had a child with him that the family did not know was Arnold's child. So they were being very kind and talking to this child and having it a part of the family, thinking that it was, you know, the child of the person that who worked for them, unaware that it was the illegitimate child of their father and husband. It was pretty bad. I mean, then he started to look a lot like Arnold. And he looks actually more like Arnold than any of Arnold's kids, which is kind of crazy. So it's a pretty bad story. Obviously, his, Maria Shriver, a Kennedy, he married into the Kennedys, divorced him. But I have to say, his family seems to have forgiven him for the most part. Maria Shriver does co-parent. I think he did step up and be a very big a part of his other child's life. I think that's commendable. He still has seemed to have a great relationship with his other children through Maria Shriver. And I think that he's done a wonderful job online. I think he's done a very nice job online. His pump club, not only helping people to work out, but motivating them in life. I think I often see his tweets and I think they're really great. And I think he's been very inspiring. He's tried to be a voice of reason in the middle. And he's, kind of started to come back a little bit. He had that Netflix show that did pretty good. I don't know what happened to the Christmas movie he made with Alan Ritchson. That was supposed to, I thought, come out this past Christmas, where he plays Santa. It looked pretty good to me. We'll see when it eventually comes out. But, and the Terminator movies sure didn't work out, but that's not his fault. But yeah, I think, we've talked about this before. Are you just going to cancel people forever? I mean, of course, sometimes people do something so horrific that, yes, they can't come back. But then there are people like Arnold, you probably won't feel the same about them, but do they have to be totally canceled? I think that it's a tricky situation, and it's obviously a case-by-case basis. But I do think there is a chance that Arnold could come back. And you know who agrees with me? Disney's 20th Century. They are offering, well, at least according to Arnold, this is all from Arnold, by the way, and Arnold is a master of self-promotion. So we don't know for sure if this is true, okay? But Arnold Schwarzenegger says 20th Century Fox has his direct line and they are calling it. So they have 3 things that they're planning to work with him. They are definitely in the Arnold Schwarzenegger business. Marky Mark, I don't know if Arnold was canceled, but he had to go away. He was, it was real bad. What he did was really, really bad. It was just, it was just a huge lapse in judgment. All right, so the first project that I want to discuss that came out, the news just broke yesterday, and I think this is a great idea. Is King Conan for Universal? Are you sure? Maybe it's for Universal. I'll have to check. Thank you for that correction. No, it's not. It's 20th Century. I was right. King Conan is set up at 20th Century. It might have been at Universal back in the day, but it's going to 20th Century now. Okay, so King Conan. This is a very strong idea. It's a strong idea for one reason and one reason only. Christopher McQuarrie. I can't believe that Christopher McQuarrie wants to do a Conan movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Hot damn! That is an instant must-see in my opinion, because I think Christopher McQuarrie is such a gifted filmmaker. He, of course, started out, he wrote The Usual Suspects. Then I forget the name of the movie. It was Ryan, he has not worked in a long time. He used to be married. Ryan Phillippe, Reese Witherspoon's ex-husband, and Benicio del Toro. Great movie. And then, of course, he went on, we'll talk about his relationship with Tom Cruise in a minute. But he's an extremely talented filmmaker and writer. And the fact that he wants to write and handle and direct this King Conan movie, as Paul Brunel said, that's a day one watch. Right, Alberto? Everyone who hears Christopher McQuarrie is like, must go see it now. I mean, it's incredible. And King Conan's a great title. Now, it's interesting because Christopher McQuarrie, I wonder what kind of a dude Christopher McQuarrie is. Because, of course, he worked with Tom Cruise, back when Tom Cruise was not doing so well. Tom Cruise, there was a little movie called Valkyrie where Tom Cruise was a German soldier trying to take down Hitler from the inside, and chose not to have a German accent in the movie. In fact, everybody had a different accent on the German side. It was a really bizarre film. But that's the movie that started Christopher McQuarrie's relationship with Tom Cruise. And of course, their partnership on the Mission Impossible movies has been legendary. And also, Top Gun Maverick. Christopher McQuarrie came in and ghost wrote the second half of that movie. And I think Christopher McQuarrie's involvement is what pushed Top Gun Maverick to be as good as it was. So it's going to be an older Conan. And this really is lining up with the trend, because as these big stars get older, there have to be stories about older characters. So Hugh Jackman's about to play an older Robin Hood. Russell Crowe also played an older Robin Hood. All kinds of things like that. The last two Mission Impossible movies flopped, Steven. I think they were too long. I think it had been they were a little too close in a row. But I still think that Christopher, oh yeah, Logan. That's a great comparison as well, tall guy. I do think that Christopher McQuarrie still has a good image as a filmmaker in terms of quality. And then Schwarzenegger was really hyping this up. He was at some kind of sports or weightlifting convention over the weekend, and that's where this news came out of. So he said they're going full fantasy. He said they're going to have magic and all this great stuff in it, because he said what happens is that Conan, as king, those are the two movies that he made, Conan as king has become complacent. He took his position for granted and gets driven out of his kingdom. And then he has to fight his way back to save everybody, and he has to go like on a hero's journey again, and they're going to have a lot of cool stuff in it. That's pretty freaking awesome. I mean, Christopher McQuarrie, Arnold Schwarzenegger, high fantasy? I think I think this could do quite well, especially if I were to open it in, I don't know, January or February when it was quiet, or like in September. Oh, look, Adam Sphere doesn't want to see this. Let me do a poll on this one. This one I'm curious about. Let's see here. There'll be women in it. Of course, Arnold, there'll be a female character for sure. Okay. Oh, so the Odyssey. That's pretty funny, Wanda's attorney. Would you see King Conan? Yes, for sure. Then need to see the trailer. And then I don't think so. By the way, again, anyone who's watching can vote in the poll. You don't have to be a member to vote in the poll. Is Grace Jones still around, Dakota Swallow? That'd be actually a cool idea. Who's going to give the beefcake? Well, Arnold's still very big, but I don't know if I would want to have a younger character. I think it should be about Conan. Why is it Barbie-ish? I don't think Barbie went into the real world. That's not going to have that element to it. It's going to stay fully in fantasy. Oh, but some of you, like Wanda's attorney, the comparisons to He-Man. That's an interesting comparison. Let's see how He-Man does. Let's see how it does. It's going up against Scary Movie 6, which I think is not great for that. Okay. All right, so not only is he doing King Conan, I'll give you another moment to vote in the poll as to whether or not you'd watch it. All right, then, of course, he's still talking, he says, about coming back for Predator. As you might recall, now, of course, Predator was a huge movie for him. Get to the chopper, I think, comes from Predator. Huge, iconic Schwarzenegger film, one of his biggest. And although he's only appeared in the first one, I believe, even though it's gone on for so long. Although I love the last Predator movie. And Dan Trachtenberg has done a great job revitalizing this franchise. And in the last Predator animated movie on Hulu, they had an end credit sequence, which actually didn't come out with the movie, but was added later on at a convention and then added to the film in streaming from that point forward, where they were going to bring back, it was revealed that the Predators had frozen in stasis their previous combatants, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny Glover, and Amber Midthunder. And I gotta say, some kind of a project with these actors who are all obviously still available is, I think, pretty enticing. I think, I think that's a good bet as well. However, there's also the question mark of the fact that Dan Trachtenberg just signed a deal with Paramount. So I don't know how big his schedule is, or how much flexibility he has, how many projects he can take on. And then I guess I should have put in if you would watch it in streaming. And then finally, though, the one I don't get is Commando. Who would bring back Commando? I really know my movies. That's my job. And I'm a big fan of movies. And I know my Arnold movies. I'm sure there's like some diehard Arnold fans who are like, how do you not know Commando? But I'm just telling you that Commando has like zero nostalgia factor to it. I think this is one too many. I think that this is enough. I don't think we want to overexpose Arnold before he's fully back, right? I think, that's a good point. Quick Draw pointed out that Red Sonja and Conan are in the same universe. By the way, Mr. Magic Forever loves Commando. Well, that's fantastic. Maybe there is Commando fans. Maybe I spoke too soon. But I have to say, putting Red Sonja in King Conan is a pretty great freaking idea. That solves your problem. Thank you very much. That would really do it. That would do it. Wow. That's a great idea. So good. I have to say, it's really a shame. I hope that Arnold Schwarzenegger, to a degree, since I think he's worked so hard to rehabilitate himself, I'm going to say I'd like to see him come back. It's interesting, Cat Jack, you just brought up Twins. I watched Twins I think he was talking about that was the money he made. So a couple of maybe a year or so ago or something, or just actually maybe over the summer, actually, Arnold Schwarzenegger revealed that Twins was the movie that he made the most money off of in his entire career, because they didn't think that he would be a good choice. So he agreed to do it for a cut of the profits. And so therefore he has made the most money off of that, because it just keeps making money. That's why you don't want to do away with royalties, because that's how actors and a lot of people in Hollywood have made their living over the years. So yeah, Kindergarten Cop, but Twins was his first big comedy. And I got to tell you, it really holds up. It's really good. And I have to say, Arnold Schwarzenegger is very good at what he does, or at least he was. He was very good. He was very good. These days, Dwayne Johnson, John Cena, Dave Bautista, these people all want to be Arnold. And some of them are quite good. But no one's as good as Arnold. His ability to deliver a one-liner, his business acumen. He was really good. Was Alyssa Milano in one of these movies? I've not seen Commando, and I didn't see the Conan movies either, by the way. I'd have to watch them. I have to watch them now, I guess. But I'll wait till we're getting closer to the actual things being released. And I agree, Alberto. My family makes me watch Jingle All the Way every single year. And every single year, I'm like, I don't want to watch that. But then every single year while I'm watching it, I'm like, this is pretty good. His one-liners are phenomenal. He's extremely good at a one-liner. Oh, she was in Commando? That's great. All right, let me close the poll, and then we'll do the Q&A for the day. Okay, hold on. So 36% of you need to see a trailer for King Conan. 33% of you are all in, but 31% of you aren't into this idea. Well, hopefully they can keep the budget down. I'd tell Christopher McQuarrie to keep it under $100 million in terms of the budget. What was Predator made? Predator Badlands. Let me see again what that budget was. I'd be like, hey, Arnie, remember how much money you made off of Twins by taking Back End? How'd you like to take Back End again? 105. That's phenomenal. Yeah, I'd be like, you can't have 100 million. You can have 100 million. And I think that would be great. Thank you, Faye. And then Just Blaze Disney says, is Conan the Barbarian still relevant today? I know he appeared in the new Mortal Kombat game. People said he was oh, well, that's too bad. I don't think Arnold did the voice, did he? I don't think Arnold did the voice for any, when Terminator showed up either. I really got to tell you, Christopher McQuarrie is, I think, what sells this thing. And Christopher McQuarrie is very smart. And I think he wouldn't be doing this if he didn't feel he had a way into the property to make it relevant. So, look, if Christopher McQuarrie could keep his budget to 100 million or lower, if I were an executive, there's no way I wouldn't make this. I think it's just, at the very least, I could probably make my money back on streaming and digital. I just think it's too strong an idea. especially if they could throw Red Sonja in there. And I'd try and have her wearing a pretty skimpy outfit. Not so skimpy that kids couldn't see it, but you got to make sure that you honor that aspect of the character. Okay, all right, let's do the Q&A. Hold on, wait a minute. A lot of pictures. All right, 10 minutes. Hold on. Oh, just till 4:10. I can remember that. Conan has to be rated R, says Doc Hayes. I would agree with that. It's got to have cool action. It was so brilliant that Predator Badlands was alien action, because that way they could have a lot of blood, but because it wasn't red, they still managed to have a PG-13 movie. They fought aliens and robots or synthetics, and that was just a brilliant idea on Dan Trachtenberg's part. Faye, I agree with you. I think that's what Sly Stallone did at the Creed. That was the Golden Globes, actually. But that was really bad. A lot of people were upset with me for saying I thought it was offensive at the time. But I just felt so bad for, because, particularly because Ryan Coogler had watched those movies as a child with his father. And that was why he wanted to do, to continue the franchise. And so to be left out like that, I thought it was just so cruel. All right, X-Men Never Meet Your Heroes. X-Men Superfan says Donna Murphy just congratulated Kathryn Hahn. Give her a cameo too somehow. I'd give her a cameo. You gotta give her a cameo so you're not a jerk. She could be like one of the villagers or in the kingdom or something like that. Maybe she could be the magic. Oh no, it was a flower. Okay. Let's see. Jesus says, hey Grace, the last 2 episodes of Movie Math have been hilarious. Thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I try to get some jokes in there. David says, what Disney show would you make if it was up to you? I don't know. Maybe I'd bring back a Goofy movie, Max. Maybe I'd try and bring back Max in some way. I see a lot of interest in Carousel of Progress. I also miss the things that Disney used to do that were educational to a degree. Gargoyles, Wandering Seth. If I could get the original writing team back, maybe I would do another season of Gargoyles animated. That would do quite well. Gargoyles is a good choice. Rodney says, hey Grace, 36 months now and have my first vocal lessons tonight, beginning path to hopefully performing. Oh, that's great, Rodney. Good for you for pursuing your dreams in a responsible manner. You're taking the first step. I think that's awesome. Oh, Chico wants a Disney princess show, where they're all together. I don't know if that ship has sailed or not. I feel bad the Tiana show was shelved. Gargoyles was amazing. Gargoyles. And it went so deep into the mythology. They were like, let's go talk to King Arthur. And you're like, why not? Let's do it. Gargoyles is already in development, but it's taking forever, I'd fast track it. I'd go in here and be like, what's the problem? I'd be like a movie development pipeline plumber. What's the clog here? Why is this not flowing? All right, Riley says, how is Warner Brothers going to handle Timmy on the Dune 3 press tour? I was wondering that this morning or the other day about what is, I could relate to Timmy's problem. It reminds me of some of the problems I've had, but at a much bigger scale. I feel bad that so many people jumped on him, and didn't have a more fair, even-handed conversation about it. I don't think it's going to hurt him with his fans, but I think it has hurt him within the industry. I think it's interesting he hasn't defended himself, which is pretty interesting, said anything. You want a poll on Timmy, Madav? Okay, let's do a poll on Timmy. I hope he's learned, to be a little more careful with his words. I mean, you can only be so careful, but I think he's a little sloppy. It's a skill he needs to learn, and I would have thought that he would have learned it after the SAG Awards. All right. How do you feel? 1 second. That's right, media training. It exists for a reason. How do you feel about Timmy? post-opera ballet comment. Still love him. A little tone deaf, but I get it. And then I feel differently. Okay. By the way, again, anyone who's voting, anyone who's watching can vote in a poll. You don't have to be a member to vote in the poll. Love him more, Madav. I see you had an ulterior motive for the poll. I hope it goes the way you want it to. Let's see here. Brett says, I hope Tinkerbell has the engineer quality in her show. That's right. If you watch this fairies show, and I did try it, so I am aware of this, everybody had a skill set. And Tinkerbell was a tinkerer, which she was basically, as you said, an engineering student, which was kind of cool. Again, I don't know who this show is going to be made for, so it's hard to get a good read on it. You know, I think once they cast Tinkerbell, we'll have a better idea of what they're going for. Britt, you can't hate Timmy C. Aw, don't hate Timmy. And Steven's pointing out that, you know, this did all happen as voting was closing. Yeah, I just feel that people, I don't know. I think that people feel I think there's no question that Timothée Chalamet will be nominated sometime again in the future, probably in the next year or so. So I think they feel like we have time to give him an Oscar. But, you know, Michael B. Jordan, this is his first nomination. And the way the industry is, unfortunately, who knows when he'll be back. So I think they're going to want to get him an Oscar. Oh, Riley is a water fairy fan. Yeah, they all had these different abilities. Hashtag said, could Michael B. Jordan get the Demi Moore treatment? Well, no, I think Timmy C is getting the Demi Moore treatment. Oasis, Grace, have you seen anything about Resident Evil Requiem? I saw a couple of people talking about the quality of the graphics, but that's about it. Oh, Elliot, I'm sorry to hear your sister was offended by his comments. They were offensive. You know, I think that while it was a relevant comment, I thought the real issue was the callousness of it and the flippant quality of the remark. And I think that's hopefully what he would. I think sometimes Timmy gets a little carried away in the moment, and that enthusiasm is part of his charisma and charm. But I think there are times when it does not serve him well. Well, Matthew McConaughey is just an awful person to deal with something like that. You know, and that's why a lot of times they have other people who are entertainers interview people. And that's always really bad because people are professional reviewers for a reason, or interviewers. A professional interviewer would know that that was really bad and would have immediately tried to get Timothée Chalamet to do something about it. Whereas I think Matthew McConaughey is like, well, save myself, you know, like, and just runs for the hills. And that's the problem. You know, Matthew McConaughey is there as a favor for Timothée Chalamet and for self-promotion, but he's not there doing a job. And so it's a different criteria and responsibility. Whereas somebody who's a professional interviewer knows it's totally. I'm very against having actors do interviews because it doesn't benefit anybody. I went to I think it was Frankenstein. Well, no, what was it? It might have been. I think it was actually Wake Up Dead Man, and they had Bradley Cooper No, it was not. Bradley Cooper somewhere did an interview for something that I went to see, and they had Bradley Cooper come out and do the interview, and I think they were like, "Oh my God, it's Bradley Cooper." But Bradley Cooper did not prepare any questions for it. He just was like, hey, man, sure, I'll show up and help you out. He had no questions prepared. He was just riffing. And he was trying to take a lot of attention for himself because he was like, I'm Bradley Cooper. We all know what Bradley Cooper's like these days. It was not good. And as I sat there, I was like, I can't believe that you brought Bradley Cooper in for this. How did you not see that this is the way things would go? Wace, I don't have any Marvel tea really, and also Marvel's very aggressive about tea these days. That's why you're seeing, I think, a lack of scoops on anything from Marvel and DC outside of the anonymous scoopers who don't care, who just want to see the world burn. And I do think scooping's gotten out of hand. As I said, I mean, I think the idea that you would know the whole movie beforehand is ridiculous. Zay says the Doja Cat had a really well-spoken response to Timmy C's comment and said that those things have been around for 400 to 500 years. But they were much more popular back in the day, I think. I mean, it's, again, you should be respectful of the other arts. One of you in the live stream when we discussed this last week had a really good point that artists are supposed to support other artists. And I thought that was a really great comment and something that someone should remind Timothée Chalamet of. And I think, if he was looking for a way out of this, it would be saying it was a learning process and that, he's been so hyper-focused on himself that I think he has forgotten the artist's code, of look out for each other because it's such a, not everybody's as fortunate or lucky and it's hard. That's right, I don't care, Bear. He should have learned it from his speech, which makes me feel like the damage control he did for the speech was just damage control. Because if he'd actually learned something, he would have stopped saying that stuff. All right, says, how do you feel about Timmy post-opera ballet comment? 46% of you feel differently. Oh, that's so bad. He should apologize. If the number's that big, that's really bad. He needs to do some damage control. That's very bad. A little tone deaf, but you get it. 38%, and only 16% of you still love him. With no reservations. That's awful. He really stepped in it. Faye, I did see that Issa Rae and Donald Glover have joined Super Mario. I think that the cast has needed more diversity. I couldn't get a read on if people were happy with those castings or not. I know that Donald Glover trended. I couldn't tell if people were bringing up his This Is America music video in a positive or negative way. But I just want to go on record as saying I think This Is America is one of the most brilliant music videos ever made. And so I think that's very impressive. But let's see how it turns out. I mean, Yoshi's a pretty plum role. I'm not a super fan of Nintendo. It's because Super Nintendo is a term. But I do know that, that's, obviously a great role. Tim says, what is your favorite Arnold movie that's not Predator or T2? Oh, that's easy. True Lies. And I also like his comedies. I think his comedies are excellent. Yeah, Donald Glover is voicing Yoshi. That was a big thing yesterday. Maybe I should have made it a story, but I didn't really know what I would say about it, really. You liked Eraser, Ricardo? Were you saying earlier that you liked Eraser? I'm not a big fan of Eraser, to be honest with you. I think that was his first flop, which was interesting back in the day. I do remember, I have a vague feeling of seeing Eraser. I remember it just barely. Elliot says, what do you hope the budget for Tangled is? The original Tangled was $250 because of the hair animation. Hopefully it's, I think I'd give you an extra $50 million for hair. But yeah, it can't be high. They can't have this thing be a liability. Like Project Hail Mary has like a $250 million budget. That thing's got to make 700, like what is that? Hold on, let me get the calculator because it's 2.5. So 250 approximately times 2.5 equals, it's got to make 625 to break even. I mean, my friend was like, talk about a Hail Mary. I mean, that's nuts. And I got to tell you, it doesn't look like 250. I don't know where that money went. I mean, it looks really good, but I don't know where $250 million went. Oh, I'm way over. I love talking to you guys. Okay. You guys are great. Thank you for a great live stream. I'm going to try to go live tomorrow, but there will definitely be one on Thursday. I have a fun video planned for tomorrow morning, and I have another fun video that's fun planned for the end of the week. All right, everybody. Bye-bye. See you soon. Bye-bye.